Lewis Hamilton has suffered greatly this season, with Mercedes failing to equip the 7-time champion with title-winning machinery following their unsuccessful attempt at nailing down the brand new technical regulations. But Lewis has been receiving shots on all ends, as the FIA now cracked down on the Mercedes driver, extensively tightening the rulebook when it comes to wearing jewelry during a Grand Prix. Something Hamilton quickly took aim at, admitting there's no chance he backs out as he remains defiant on his personal belongings, openly admitting he does not plan to comply with the FIA mandate, labeling the stunt as a step backwards and an unnecessary spat from the governing body. But the FIA didn't retreat either, insisting their clampdown on jewelry will indeed come into fruition with zero exceptions, threatening with 6-figure fines and even penalty points to be added onto the super licenses of those who fail to comply. This now created a tense situation between the sport's most successful driver and the governing body, with Lewis Hamilton being prepared to fight the issue all the way till the end, something we'll be covering in depth in today's video. Lewis has remained adamant about his stance on the matter, voicing his opinion numerous times and insisting that he has zero intent to remove any of his jewelry. "No," he replied when asked if he plans to obey the new jewelry restrictions. "I got an exemption here, and I will get exemptions for the rest of the year. I will wear 4 watches next time," said Lewis, sitting in the Miami press conference with 3 watches on his wrist, 4 neck chains, and 8 rings. "I don't have any plans on removing them. I feel they are personal things. You should be able to be who you are. There's stuff that I can't move. I literally can't take these out," he said, pointing to his right ear. "They're literally welded on so that I'd have to get them chopped off or something. So they'll be staying." Contrary to the mass opinion, the new jewelry crackdown is no new addition to the rulebook, remaining firmly in there since 2005. It is simply now, after Ben Sulayem's takeover, that the FIA is looking to start enforcing the rule far more strictly in its recent bid for increased driver safety. The Mercedes man has been given an exclusive 2-race exemption lasting till Monaco, given multiple of his body piercings would require surgical removal. But Lewis is in no rush to do so nevertheless, firmly insisting that he's not planning to comply, even if it means being charged up to $250,000 fines for each time he breaches the rule. "This whole safety thing, man, it's been the rule forever. Since I've been here, it's been the rule, so there's nothing new. I'm just going to come with more jewelry next week." When they, the FIA, told me about the jewelry, they said safety is everything. And I said, well, what's happened over the last 16 years? I've had jewelry for the last 16 years, so was safety not an issue back then? He added angrily. But his most shocking admission came when he put his participation in the Miami Grand Prix on the line just ahead of the race, prior to receiving his medical exemption, suggesting he's got no issues with facing race bans for breaching the rules if necessary. "If they stop me, so be it. We've got spare drivers who are ready and prepped for the weekend. There's a lot to do in the city anyway, so I'm good either way." He summed up, making how far he's willing to go to fight the matter beyond evident before voicing his disappointment in the FIA. "I feel like it's almost like a step backwards if you think of the steps we're taking as a sport and the more important issues and causes that we need to focus on. It seems unnecessary to get into this spat," he added. But despite his ongoing criticism of the decision and openly refusing to comply, the Mercedes driver cracked and removed his ear piercings just before the start of the Miami Grand Prix, which he claimed are welded in beforehand. But Hamilton still remains adamant on retaining his nose stud along with another mysterious piercing. "I can't remove at least 2 of them. One, I can't really explain where it is," he said, not failing to crack a cheeky smile, before he suggested a possible resolution to his row with the FIA. Lewis proposed an option where he could simply sign a waiver, taking all liability away from the FIA if a nasty accident were to occur and his jewelry caused him additional harm, as he also admitted he messaged the newly appointed FIA president and is believed to hold a meeting with the governing body regarding his individual case. But the FIA crackdown wasn't focused solely on jewelry restrictions, as the other controversial article starting to be strictly policed by the governing body is underwear, with the organization mandating all drivers to wear fireproof underwear in the race car, something that didn't go unnoticed as Sebastian Vettel, a dear friend of Hamilton, followed in the Britain's footsteps to protest the strict enforcement of the article. Whilst Hamilton decked out in jewelry in disagreement, the German took aim at the underwear part of the rule, strolling down the Miami paddock with his non-fireproof underwear on top of his racing suit. something Lewis was delighted to see as Sebastian stood firmly behind his Mercedes counterpart, taking a dig at the FIA, suggesting the rule is targeted directly at the 7-time champ. Probably, at this stage, it's more of a personal thing, and I feel, in a particular way, targeted to Lewis. There's a concern for safety. Obviously, if you have stuff and the car does catch fire, then it will be unpleasant. But on the other hand, it's personal freedom, and we're old enough to make our choices outside the car. We should be old enough to make choices also inside the car, Seb added. But the two champions immediately received loads of backlash from all fronts, being called childish by Ralf Schumacher and Jenson Button also being critical of the pairing, siding with the FIA instead. It is not just what happens at the circuit, it is when they take the crash helmet off. Is it going to pull in the ear and then the marshal feels bad that he's hurt you? Or it could be if you were taken to the hospital and they have to do an X-ray or an MRI. You can't have metal in your face either, added the 2009 world champion, a former teammate of Hamilton. The enforcement of the Jewellery article didn't arouse much contentment even with the rest of the drivers, with 3 more racers siding with Hamilton and Vettel not having the kindest of words for the mandate. Haas's Kevin Magnussen was the next to join in on the conversation, having a much less extravagant case than Hamilton. The Danish driver, who recently got married, was critical of the enforcement, as it means he'll need to be taking his wedding ring off his finger for the races. I understand what they are saying, but it is a wedding ring around your finger, he said, before admitting he doesn't feel right removing it. I'll take a little bit of extra burn on my finger to race in my wedding ring, and if something was going to happen, something bad, I would want to wear my wedding ring. It kind of feels bad to take it off. With something like that, like your wedding ring, let us take that responsibility. There must be somehow to remove liability, he concluded, suggesting a similar resolution as his Mercedes counterpart before Pierre Gasly jumped on the bandwagon. I do believe there are bigger things to focus on, and I appreciate the FIA looking after our safety. It is their priority and our priority. I do feel it is a little bit personal. We should have the freedom to do what we feel is right for us at the end of the day. We have the responsibility to go out there, put our lives at risk, and I do feel it should be a personal choice. In my personal case, I also have a religious item that I wear with me when I'm racing that is important to me, which I don't feel comfortable not having with me when driving the car. But I respect the FIA and their will to always improve our safety, but I would appreciate talks with them to see if we can find a better solution than such a strict kind of decision as they made, so let's see what we can do, concluded the Frenchman, before his fellow Red Bull Academy cadet, Alex Albon, shared his bit. Alex: I agree with Lewis's comments, and I understand it is our body at the same time as well. Like everything, when you are older, you are prepared to have those consequences. If you want to do what you want to do, then so be it. You have a freedom to be yourself, concluded the Williams driver. So, whilst the jewelry row is a rather unnecessarily blown-up topic, it will be interesting to follow how it pans out. With Lewis insisting he's not taking at least 2 of his piercings out, and his exemption only lasting for Miami and Spain, the conflict could get real ugly in Monaco if the 37-year-old were to receive a fine or get penalty points added to his license. But we want to know what you guys think. Do you agree with Lewis? Do you feel the responsibility should lie with the individual, not the FIA? Do you think Lewis will remove his piercings at the end, avoiding the penalties? And could this unnecessary spat, combined with the poor performance of his Mercedes car, result in him considering his options and perhaps leaving the sport at the end of the season? Let us know in the comments down below. We'll be reading each and every one of them. We've let YouTube decide which video of ours you would enjoy watching next the most based on your own unique watching habits and preferences. Let's see if they are right.